Hypersomnia is a retro-styled JRPG set sometime in the 2010s. It stars Ross Campbell as he gets tangled up in demon hunting after the murder of his mother. Hypersomnia is a game about friends, foes, and eyes. Lots of eyes. Keep your eyes peeled for Hypersomnia. For updates, follow Hypersomnia Game on Twitter. That's Hypersomnia Game. You can join the Hypersomnia Discord there, and you can also follow the game's progress by searching for Hypersomnia on GameJolt.
Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to RPG Maker Cola.
Hey RPG Maker Cola listeners, welcome to RPG Maker Cola Season 2. Cheap, refreshing, at your corner store and everywhere near you. It's fizzy game dev juice and it's being filtered through your eardrums right now like sick beats. Refreshing on a hot summer's day, it makes you feel cool, calm, collected, with zero side effects, utterly none. It's medicine to your bones, and you better know it's your fizzy soda-filled source of content for game development opinions that mean very little in the grand scheme of things. It's your favorite RPG Maker podcast, RPG Maker Cola. I'm your host Benny, also known as Cash, also known as the Puzzle Snob, also known as Quirky Doggos and Cute Cities, Investigator, and this is the place for you. It's a chill space where we get together skilled developers from the RPG Maker community to chat cordially and occasionally non-cordially about game development, game design, and probably a whole bunch of unrelated other stuff too. It's casual, it's cool, it's cola. Today I have two guests who I'm so happy to introduce because they exhibit such poise and intent. They're truly unique. These two games are nice and cute. They're from two great creators who I'm guessing you're just dying to meet, so let's do that. I'm the one holding you up? Okay, go say hi yourselves. Okay, fine, I'll introduce you. Hey listener, I'd like you to meet guest number one. Guest number one is the lead dev of an upcoming RPG detailing the adventures of 4 kids and the powers that arise with spiritual unity and focus. They describe themselves as just a gamer and game maker wanting to spread happiness, and their game is called Forgiven. It's a colourful game with widely various cast of characters attempting to thwart the downfall that the strange, evil Megacorp will bring. Evil? Maybe? We'll decide later. Known as the Monolith Foundation, they take all pride in the destruction of humanity for their own sake. Okay, maybe they're a little bit evil. Featuring 4 vibrant characters, it's your job to take care of these freaks. Using the incomprehensible powers of the soul, you'll take down tough enemies and restore faith to humanity. Always a good thing. Set in a modern city landscape, it currently looks gorgeous. I'm really loving the look of this thing. Great soundtrack too, with quirky enemies, brilliant battle backgrounds, and a general sense of mystery and awe. I'm looking forward to experiencing the thick atmosphere that this thing will bring, and a clear ode to joy of the inspirations that went before it, while blazing its own new trail. It's exciting, and I think it's quite typical of the innovation of the new generation of games coming through. The team are continually working on this, led by the great efforts of this developer who I'm so happy to meet, and I'm very glad to introduce this visionary artiste. It is Mattfox.
Hi, I'm Mattfox, as you already know, or you can call me Noah, I guess. I'm doing pretty good, and I've been working on this game for quite a while, probably like maybe 2.5 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big project and it's a big undertaking. I'm really happy to have you on the podcast. Our second guest is a pupper of powerful proportions. They are creating possibly one of the cutest games I've seen in a long time in a painterly style with a lot of painterly or watercolory style with a lot of funny little systems. In their Twitter profile, they say they like treats and snoozing, and they are currently developing the game Doggo Quest. Wow. An Undertale-inspired watercolored adventure RPG about a lost dog attempting to find its way home. We've seen movies like, Hachi, A Dog's Tale and A Dog's Journey, but I don't think we've seen it so surreal and bonkers with such verve and humor. For example, the developer regularly posts gifs of their Doggo character poking its tongue in the air, and there's a recent edition where the Doggo could carry cans and such items on its back. There's a picture of a robot carrying the Doggo, and even an entire world-building diagram that reminds me of Terry Pratchett that has layers of earth and environments and cross-sections. The innovations is bananas, and the Doggos are ultra cute. I just truly have seen nothing quite like this game, and I'm really excited to hear from the mind behind this joyful idea. Introducing the best Doggo.com, meebob. Hello.
Arf! Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that.
Sorry, you'll have to speak in English, not dog language, it's on this podcast.
Hello, I'm meebob, and I'm super excited and flattered to be here. And I'm excited to talk with you all.
Yes, it's always good to talk to a talking dog. Yeah, there's so many different dog dialects you could be speaking right now, but you've chosen to go to the primitive English language, which is much less sophisticated than the dog language.
Yeah, it's good to get the rust off of it. So.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for gracing our presence. And now that we're well acquainted, it's Buzz Corner time. Welcome to the Buzz Corner, where we talk about what RPG Maker and otherwise games are gaining buzz at the moment. And I've asked guests if they can think of a game to bring one game to talk about they're pretty interested in. It just looks good to them. I'm going to start with a game that is not super popular, but I think it's very interesting. It's called Perspective. This game stars a player who discovers their attribute of memory. Guided by a therapist, they'll figure out how to use memory in helpful ways for patients, and they will find information on a multi-country conspiracy. Basically, it's just different levels where you can float around in real time, and lots of events and conversations are happening in real time. And you float around and follow these conversations, and they'll give you clues about where to go next. So basically, it's like, say, about a 10-minute section, or 5 to 10 minute section of uninterrupted conversations and cutscenes with little thoughts happening over their head, and you can follow whoever you want, and then eventually you'll find out the solution to a mystery for several levels. I think it's a really interesting idea for a game, just following people around. It uses the default RPG Maker graphics, and it's honestly like the game page is nothing to like sneeze at. It's like it's not very well presented, to be honest. But like the gameplay itself is it was surprising. I was just pretty floored by it, to be honest. So I think it's one of those things where the packaging could use a little bit of work. If this had like a commercial version, I would be very happy, because if it had better graphics, I think it'll be much more popular and people would actually love this game quite a bit, have a cult following. I love this game. Perspective, go check it out. Perspective Extended Edition on rpgmaker.net.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
You're a good writer.
Yeah, give it a bit of a go. Give it a bit of a try. It's a very interesting gameplay-wise and storytelling-wise, non-linear storytelling. Yeah, Mattfox, what would you like to bring today?
Today, I want to bring a game that I've been interested in ever since I saw it. It's called Hypersomnia. And it's actually, I've become really good friends with a dev, so much so, they both work on each other's games. It's really awesome. I'm really interested in like all the story and stuff. It's not really visionary at the moment, but all the ideas and story stuff the dev has told me about and some other people are really interesting to me.
Yeah, this game looks very interesting. It says, after the demonic murder of his mother, Ross Campbell is off to save the world from its biggest threat yet, a purple demon in a suit. Taking inspiration from Mother and Undertale comes a story of friendship, foes, eyes, and porphyrophobia, which I have to Google to actually figure out what that means. 1 second.
The fear of purple.
The fear of the color purple. Wow.
Trust me, I'll look that up too.
Yeah, do you have any other insights into what this game might be like? Is it battle-centric? Is it story-centric? Horror game?
I think what I know from just talking with the dev and all the other people who work on the story and stuff, it's pretty focused on like battles, but also has a lot of overworld gameplay.
Right, and you have like a colorful party of like cool characters that have different personalities, and I get,
Yeah.
Well, is it that kind of like, if it says Mother and Undertale, is that kind of juxtaposition of horror and comedy, I suppose, that will be expected? I reckon. Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna think. From like already the story definitely implies both of those.
And I wonder when it says that there's a lot happened in the year of 2020. The development began in April 19th, and the Discord server launched, and then it debuted in Mother Forever's Mother Direct, and then they partnered with Unique Indie RPGs in June, which is a great community. Go visit Unique Indie RPGs. And then, so it's been in progress from there. It seems like it's quite, I wonder if it's quite early in production or whether we'll be able to see a demo soon.
It's pretty early.
Yeah.
We've had to start over once, actually.
Oh, right. That can sometimes happen. Yeah, so go check it out, Hypersomnia. It sounds like a great game. Do you know which engine it's actually being created in?
It's actually an RPG maker.
Oh, yep.
Isn't that funny?
Interesting. Very interesting. I'll keep an eye on Hypersomnia. It seems like a very interesting game. Meebob, what's buzzing for you at the moment?
So I guess the game I brought that I'm interested in and actually just recently finished playing through is Usurper Ghoul by Evan Dom. What this game is, it's a pretty small, kind of like, focused jewel-like. I'd say it's maybe like altogether not too much more than an hour of gameplay. But it's one of those games that both you love and frustrate. Like, the premise is that you're sort of this small, like, cow-skulled ghoul that appears in this field with no context as to why you're there, no context as where you're supposed to go to, and you explore this sort of blasted, desolate landscape that is, like, really delicately colored, kind of like it reminds me of the Unicorn Tapestries, almost. Like, black fields and flowers everywhere and sort of these little delicate pixel details that are really gorgeous. And it's hard to talk too much about what you discover because it very quickly veers into spoilers, but you start illiterate, so you can't read, and so you kind of marvel at these signs, and gradually you piece yourself together as well as piece the world together.
So you kind of learn words as you go? Is that what happens? Or is it like the character is learning how to read?
It's like they have a system where you have like 3 sets of items and you can slot one item into each slot and they kind of displace each other. It's kind of like different sort of abilities.
Oh.
So if you want to be able to read, you displace your ability to open doors, say, or light fires.
Oh, wow.
The vibes of this game. I had to Google the Unicorn Tapestries just to see what those look like, and they're such striking imagery. It's crazy. And it's reminded me a little bit of, say, the desolate exploration-based sort of puzzle adventure games like Eco and Shadow of the Colossus, and going across these desolate wastelands and stuff. And even, I don't know if it actually plays like that, but like it's quite seems quite minimalist even.
Yeah, the writing is phenomenal, and I think the art and the overall sense of exploration, but I think on the gameplay side is where I think that there's like a fair number of frustrations that it brings. Like, that's the primary emotion it creates, is frustration.
Right.
You kind of have to push through that.
Is it frustration for people who aren't traditionally puzzle solvers, or is it frustration for just any player?
I think it's kind of frustration of like someone who's been playing, sort of modern games, and then you drop them into The Legend of Zelda, say.
Yes.
So there's not...
So it takes inspiration from those early games.
Yeah, both graphically and, there's not much signposting.
Right. So you're talking about direction, giving directions, and kind of getting lost and things like that.
Yeah, like the primary way you solve the puzzles is by trying everything with each combination of items you have.
Oh, right, like some older Sierra Adventure games. Combine the rope with the wood, and like, nope, that doesn't work. Okay, combine the rope with the flour. Nope. Okay, combine the scissors with the can. Oh, you made a broken can. Okay, yeah.
And it's something I think the author can get away with because the author is more famous for making graphic novels and webcomics. Like, I guess Rice Boy, if you've heard of it, is their sort of magnum opus.
I'll have to look that up actually. Rice Boy.
Yeah, and so I think they probably have like some fairly dedicated people coming into it. So maybe they feel like they can make their game a little less accessible than it might otherwise be able to be.
Yeah, it's a fun little diversion for them, I suppose. But and that it's still probably it looks more striking than most games, just because they're such a great visual artist. Yeah, and I looked up the Rice Boy on Google, and I noticed the character. I know the character from somewhere, but I don't. I think I've seen panels, maybe. I don't know. And I can see where the vibe comes from. It's a similar kind of post-apocalyptic kind of feeling to it.
Yeah, I absolutely recommend it.
Yeah, wow. Usurper Ghoul. I want to play that now. Okay, end of podcast. I'll go play it. No, just kidding. Cool, excellent. That's what's been buzzing for us right now. And now we're going to move to the next section. We've been playing games. Maybe... Hey, have you been playing games? You there, yes you, I'm pointing at you, dear listener. If you haven't been playing games, that's all cool, but if so, you can listen here as each of us talk about a game we've been currently playing, or maybe not, maybe we've played in the past, maybe we're lying to you, who knows, and explain what we liked and disliked about it. I will bring a game called The Talos Principle. The Talos Principle is a first-person puzzle game in the tradition of philosophical science fiction. You're a it's not a spoiler, you're a robot sort of traversing a garden with various signposts pointing towards places you can get puzzle pieces, and then there's terminals where you can read what happened to the past. Within the first 5 minutes you realize that the entire, like the internet, it was saved, but then the data got corrupted. It was like, I don't know, what's the big petabytes, whatever, worth of information got corrupted, and only a very small, like 0.0001% of the internet was left surviving. And you have to try and figure out what your role as a robot discovering this Garden of Eden with this this god figure Elohim telling you what to do. And then there's the puzzles, which are like lasers and mirrors and 3D space, and it's not like, I must say, it's not like as visually striking as a game like The Witness, but it's got some very interesting ideas in it that are completely different to The Witness. And I've heard that people don't get turned off by the fact I brought up The Witness as a game, because a lot of people get frustrated by that, but they're not as frustrated with the Talos Principle. This game came before The Witness, and it's a very interesting non-linear puzzle game that I think people will enjoy, not just for the gameplay, but the very interesting philosophical story as well. Is robot human? Is robot person? Does robot have God? We don't know. Let's find out. So yeah, that's the Talos Principle. I haven't finished it, but I'm really enjoying it so far. It's an older game, but it's good.
Awesome.
Have any of you played the Talos Principle before?
Yeah, no. And
I have not.
this is the first time I'm hearing of it. Yeah, how does it balance like the two elements? I guess it has the narrative elements and the puzzles. Is it like you fed little bits of the narrative as rewards for finishing puzzles, or?
Oh, absolutely. Well, actually, it's sort of natural. Like, you know how like in games, if you have the found footage kind of, you find little audio diaries around the place, and most games kind of stick to one format of audio diaries or find terminals. But this game kind of goes all out and says you find the audio diaries and the terminals and the visual clues and recordings and everything, because they're just like, okay, you're a robot, here's God, he created this garden for you, and now we can pretend it's a developer simulation as well and put code in there and QR codes that you scan, and it's it's really they kind of go all out, but I think it's very well paced. I will say that there's a good balance, like you discover some deep narrative elements, and they also do like little things like quizzes as well, where they're like, do you feel like a human, yes or no? And then you get to choose, and it's like, why do you feel like a human? And it's a little funny, or why do you not feel like a human? So it's really, I think they're really clever with the way they do it, honestly.
Yeah, that sounds exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
It's a very clever tone that it like, kind of like is like a playful, darkly playful kind of, or
yeah, it is a little bit playful. Yeah, it kind of, it's playful, but it doesn't really go haha fourth wall kind of thing. It doesn't really wink at you too much. It sort of earnestly just goes, hey, you've seen this before. Let's just skip the small talk. There's audio diaries, there's the internet, blah, blah, blah. Let's go straight into it. And it has a few jokes, but they're actually kind of, they're sort of taken in and of themselves. They're not like, that's a reference to something, did you get it? It's sort of like, it serves the story.
yeah.
I get it.
Mattfox, have you been playing games? Maybe?
Well, not recently, but one of my favorites is definitely Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. The first ever Mario and Luigi game I played, and the start of me liking all of them in the series. It's just got such quirky graphics and funny design, but also mixes really cool battles that are inspiring for what I'm doing now together. And makes a great combination, really.
Like Mario and Luigi.
Yeah.
So apparently the setting of the game begins in the Mushroom Kingdom, but and then it's a role-playing game, which is, you might not expect, like before this, you might not have expected it fully, that Mario and Luigi would be RPG.
Yeah, that's what's so great about it.
Yeah, it's got a playful tone, centers on a battle system different from that of traditional games of the genre, with an emphasis on timing and more elaborate attacks. So like, you'll jump, and then you have to time pressing A or whatever you're playing it on. I played it on a GBA, and when you bounce on it, the better the timing, the better the attack will be, generally, and you can use jumping to dodge and stuff. So it's very active, like, it's turn-based, but then like there's also a real-time element to the whole thing.
It's much more engaging than a regular RPG battle system, I'll say that.
So I guess I'm very curious about, I think I have maybe like not the correct personality for it, so I'm always curious to hear what people like about like this sort of system in particular. Like, do you feel like you've like gained, is it like a sense of mastery? Like you become stronger and stronger
Yeah.
like, with your own skills as you progress, and by the end you're like, I'm a master of timing? Or like what is it that like makes that interesting to you?
I think there's like multiple outcomes for each attack. Like if you fail a certain part, like Luigi will like, I think Hammer Bros, or Chopper Bros, that's it. You have to spin with a helicopter with your hammer, and there's like multiple outcomes where you can hit Luigi like right in the face with it, and I just love that so much.
It's like a playful interaction.
Yeah, and you can really helps you like to get better at it, and towards the end of the game you are definitely a master of the Bros attacks.
Yeah, I think you actually stated it correctly. You feel like you're a master of timing at the end.
Yeah.
That is one of the major appeals, I think, of the system, is that it rewards your timing and quick reflexes, which I think for someone who doesn't like games that like focus on twitch reflexes and timing and all that kind of stuff, they probably will find this sort of system a bit less engaging or fun. Because if people like, I suck at timing, and they're not very good at it, they'll get punished for it in this game, and that could be a possible turnoff. And it's also got interesting gameplay about controlling Mario and Luigi simultaneously. So during overworld sections, you can sort of move Mario around, and then you can individually control each of Mario and Luigi's actions using the A and B buttons, and they can like jump on each other and do different different stuff. Like, for example, Luigi's hammer can be used to squash Mario into a smaller size. And then the second one can access small gaps, while if you place Mario on Luigi's shoulders, you can use them as a propeller to hover over large gaps. So there's like lots of... I think what I like is they created these core sort of mechanics, and then they said, okay, what else can we do with them? Rather than just saying, let's just get a whole bunch of new stuff. They're like, with the stuff we've already got, what can we like innovate with that? And that's what I kind of like about it.
It's like an RPG with a lot of a platformer aspect to it.
Yeah, it's a Mario and Luigi. You gotta have jumping, right? You know, it's just part of the. So I love that game, but I recognize, you know, how some people might not find it very fun, and also it's like Paper Mario. We have all the small numbers as well. and some people just like small, cute numbers for their HP and everything else. You know, it's easier to digest. I can see the positives and the negatives about it. It sacrifices precision in some points, but it also creates more simplicity. So, yeah, I think they did a good job of... I think it fills a niche. That's what I'll say.
Are numbers something that you think about, like the scale? Is that something that sort of... I guess I've never really consciously thought about the different effects of number scales before, and so that's kind of a fun concept.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's because, yeah, if the bigger the number, the more precise you can get, and sometimes I've seen certain Japanese RPGs will, Japanese language RPGs will have like 6-7 digits for attacks and stuff like that. It's like, you are doing big numbers to make you feel powerful and stuff. But sometimes having 3 or 4 is, you know, okay, I know the difference between a 3 and an 8 better than I know 35,762 from, you know, the other big number. So it's just it's a psychological thing as well.
Yeah, for sure.
There's probably some paper someone wrote about it.
Yeah, absolutely. That
Mario
feels
and
like
Luigi, scientific analysis
of small numbers.
Doctoral dissertation.
Yeah. Someone pay me to write that paper. Okay. Meebob, what have you been playing lately?
So recently I revisited the game Minute, which is, I think, fairly well known, but it's I think absolute sort of genius concept and perfectly executed. I guess I can sort of briefly describe it for people who haven't played it. It's sort of a action adventure game. The copy is it's a peculiar little adventure played 60 seconds at a time. And whenever you start the game, the 60-second timer starts, and at the end of those 60 seconds, you die.
Yeah.
And so they play around with this in all sorts of different ways, but I find what's really exciting about it is that it sort of really forces you to plan ahead of time what you're going to do, because you have those 60 seconds, you kind of need to have a destination, and so you end up sort of having these things like, okay, so I'm going to run north, and then I'll, you know, dodge the crocodile or whatever, and then go in the tunnel, grab the tool, go to this other place, run back out, and then, you know, accomplish whatever objective. So it's kind of like a Rube Goldberg machine that you have to hold in your head, like, each of those little steps, and then you execute. And like, there's something super satisfying about building that in your head.
Yeah, you literally haven't got a minute to waste.
Exactly. Yeah, at the beginning it's like kind of, you know, it has that sense of like exploration, and it's like a very different feel, like when you're like sort of just doing these little sallies off in every direction. Like, you really can't get lost in the same way that you could in, I think, like in a normal game, this kind of sprawling map might be a little confusing, but because you have to sort of explore it so deliberately in these tiny chunks, I think that really helps direct you in an interesting way.
Yeah, you're sort of creating a mind map in your mind as you go along, and it's sort of it's kind of like a Zelda type scrolling map system kind of thing, right? It's like most of the it's like, it's very Zelda-ish in presentation.
You said it was like a very task-oriented. Is it really just linear, or is there room to like go out and explore other stuff?
I actually don't know how linear it forces you to be, but I don't think it feels like you're being railroaded into like a specific way of doing things. Like,
yeah, that's a good thing.
It feels very open and wide, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure.
It's deceptive what you can do with just 2. It's not even like shades. It's just like complete black, white. You know. They don't use shades. They use dithering and stuff for shadows and things like that as well.
Yes, absolutely brilliant art, I think. It's always clear. Like, even though they only have the 2 colors to work with, everything I feel like reads right away, like sort of at any size. And like that's a technical accomplishment.
I love the little bills that each of the characters have. They all got these little bills, like, you know, long lips.
They're like little Tamagotchis, you know.
Yeah.
Those little devices, they remind you of your own mortality.
Yeah, you have to feed it. You had to make sure you feed it, and you never did because you were a little kid. I mean, how can you? Well, maybe some very disciplined individuals as kids, they would feed their Tamagotchis regularly, but mine always died. Anyway, that's memories I wouldn't like to relive, but yeah. It's interesting. Oh, I just read a review saying I died in the first 60 seconds, harder than Dark Souls. Excellent. Are there any downsides?
I mean, I think it's really well executed, but I mean, I think there are things that it definitely doesn't try to accomplish. Like I don't think if you're looking for something that's character driven, I don't know if Minute's going to be your cup of tea.
It's not your hundreds of hours long RPG with hours of dialogue.
Yeah, and I don't think there isn't a huge deal of complexity, which I think is good, but that's also something that people sometimes look for. It's like a fairly straightforward once you kind of learn the conventions of the game.
Yeah, I was going to say it's on sale, but that won't be relevant when the podcast is released, so just get it full price. Yeah, thanks for bringing your games you've been playing, maybe. And now we're going to go to our topics we must discuss, because this is a podcast, and it's serious. Hey, welcome. Here's the part of the podcast where we ask the serious questions. Our first question of the day, and our guests can answer them in any order they like. How did you come about making games? And if it was an RPG Maker, how did you discover RPG Maker? And what's your general story when it comes to game development?
If you're familiar with the website Scratch, that's where I began making games. Are you guys familiar with Scratch?
Scratch the programming language?
Yeah, it's a website.
Oh, right.
Yeah, only vaguely.
It's a free programming language where you create stories, games, and animations. I taught Scratch in a primary school or intermediate, I think. It was for making. It's like a visual programming language.
Yeah, I think that's the appeal of it. A teacher showed me it in about sixth grade, and if I did not ever have that teacher, I probably wouldn't be here right now, because Scratch was such a cool thing to me, to my sixth grade self, that I could make games just by putting Lego bricks on the screen.
Yeah, I've actually had one of the podcast guests who started creating games in Scratch as well, which is quite funny. When was Scratch developed? It was, let me see, Scratch was created pretty recently, I would like to think. It's a programming language, first appeared in 2003. I suppose. What was the year? What was the year that you started, I suppose, using Scratch? And then where did you go from there?
Let's see, sixth grade. 11 minus 6. That must have been 5 years ago.
Okay.
So, 2015?
Oh, great.
Around then.
And then where did you go from there? How did you start making games not using, unless Forgiven is made using Scratch? I don't believe it is.
Yeah, that one's not true. Next, I actually started ROM hacking, and that was also something that was pretty easy to make user created experiences that you can share with others. So that's kind of where my dream to make a game one day started from.
And so you're making ROM hacks. You're making for different. What type of things were you creating?
Super Mario World.
Ah.
I was really just adding levels, but that idea that I could make a game. Well, I mean, I'm not making it, obviously. I'm just adding stuff to it. But that's just kind of something that inspired me to make my own game, because I wanted to experience that.
You wanted to experience the creation of your own assets and the creation of your own world and stuff.
Eventually, I got tired of editing someone else's game, so I just wanted to make my own.
And how did that begin, I suppose, creating... what engine do you use now?
Game Maker Studio 2.
And how did you come about using Game Maker Studio 2?
Well, one of my friends at the time, online friends, he's still around today, but at that time, he was creating I forgot what it was, but it was some kind of thing in Game Maker 1. And I thought that was pretty cool. And we were the same age, so I was if he can do it, so can I. So that's how that came about. I started reading up on my tutorials, watching the Sean Spalding videos. And
so you're watching tutorial videos, and that kind of got you into Game Maker, and then you started... are you the solo developer, or is there other people in the team for Forgiven?
There's other people on the team, but I'm the only one that uses Game Maker. I'm the only developer.
Oh,
really.
right. Cool. Well, we'll go into more about Forgiven later on. However, I'll ask meebob, how did you come about making games? What's your story?
Sure. It's kind of a really roundabout story. Like, I mean, I think probably anyone listening to this podcast, like as a kid, is like, games. I love them. They're the coolest thing in the world. And of course, if you think something's the coolest thing in the world, you want to make one of your own. And so, like as a kid, like I kind of messed around. Like I definitely messed around with RPG Maker, but I think I was probably at an age where my brain hadn't quite solidified yet. And so I just got very frustrated with it, like kind of, made a couple tiny little messes, but really never got anywhere. And so kind of forgot about that for years and years and years, really. And I got into art. I sort of studied art in college. And then halfway through art school, I kind of had a mid-art school life crisis. I need to get a job somehow. And so I dropped everything. I was like, okay, I'm going to learn to code. Like that's, the golden path to having a prosperous life. And so dropped everything, learned to code, kind of forced my way through that. And then, got a job as a programmer. And then sort of at one point, I was on a comics Discord, where there's this kind of entire culture of like making comics in little competitions. You have like a giant, 64-person bracket, single elimination comics tournament where you battle against each other to make the best comic, and the winning one becomes canon, and it kind of all trickles up. Oh. And there's a, substantial overlap of all these communities of people who like comics, people who like games, and one person was just sort of obsessed with Toby Fox. Like they were a mega fan, and they would just sort of post interviews of that Toby Fox did, or like little things that he wrote. Right. And one of them was sort of like a thing like, like who would I want to help me if they were to help me? If I was to, get someone on my team, and then sort of listing all sort of different things. And then, but, the one thing I can think of is someone that can code, someone that can draw, someone that, do a little bit of everything. But if such a person exists, then why aren't they working on their own game?
Yeah.
And then so I saw that, and I'm like, why aren't I working on my own game? It's total nonsense. And so that was the exact moment when Doggo Quest was born.
Oh, excellent!
That's awesome.
And so probably after not thinking about it, I kind of unintentionally acquired all the skills. And
this goes for both of you. I suppose
that's what I've been doing.
This goes for both of you, I suppose. Art as well. Like Mattfox, do you draw your own visual assets? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I made my profile picture.
Oh, excellent. So, as for art, what are your art backgrounds? I suppose do you have any sort of formal training, or did you teach yourself? Or
well, I had it in my head that I wanted to be a professional painter, and so that was like my life for a couple years, where really going at it, doing all sorts of studies, just painting every day. And so really, and first and foremost, I feel like my skill is in like painting and watercolors in particular. And so when I decided to make a game, like that was kind of the natural choice. I was like, this will be easier for me than trying to learn a whole new art form.
Use what you're strong at, right?
Yeah, like I think, playing to your strengths, I feel like that's good life advice in almost any area.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm kind of like putting my toes in the water as right now. I'm trying to really get into it.
Yeah, like just kind of starting out, trying out different art styles and seeing what works for you.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, maybe this is jumping ahead, but are you making most of the assets for Forgiven, or do you have I guess how's that divided up amongst your team? Yeah,
me and one other person do most of the art in it for sprites.
I guess you'd learn a lot from doing those sprites and stuff, doing the tile sets and everything. And that's all kind of self-taught, or there's some tutorials for pixel art that you kind of followed?
I've never watched tutorials on pixel art, actually. Kind of just started doing it.
Yeah, I just gotta say, for just dipping your toes in, it's really gorgeous stuff.
Yeah, it is. It actually is. I can't stress it enough. It looks really great.
Thank you, guys.
What favorite kinds of games or media inspire you to create, and why?
Well, I really like exploration in games, and I probably couldn't really list one or two because there's just so many that have that kind of aspect to them. Actually, probably like Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey. A lot of Switch games seem to have a focus on exploration. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, especially recently with those franchises, they've sort of gone in that direction, haven't they? The exploration aspect, the non-linear kind of big worlds and cities and stuff as well.
Yeah, I feel like it's a tricky question. Well, because I feel like there's two categories that sometimes overlap, but not always, of things that I like. Like, there are things I really, really like, but instead of making me want to create, they just sort of fill me with despair. If I think about, like, who doesn't love, some Elder Scrolls sometimes? But, like, Oblivion, or some of the best hours of my life have been spent playing Oblivion. But, like, that sort of thing just fills me with, like, I can't even imagine where to start, like, approaching something like that.
The big studio projects, they require big, amounts of people and massive amounts of planning, and we can't possibly do that as singular developers. We can try.
But even like a super substantial, like 300-hour RPG Maker game fills me with the same feeling.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like,
I don't know how they do it.
Whoever made, you're a superhuman. Whoever made this is abnormal in a good way. Yeah, but it's like, I feel like Undertale is a good example. Like, it's a super hit, which is intimidating in its own, but just something about how circumscribed it is and how...
Oh, yeah.
It's obviously something that a handful of people can make in a relatively short period of time. I feel like things like that are still really good are really what inspire me to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to talk about Undertale as well. The fact that one person, in interviews and stuff, you probably might have heard, but they were like spending like 18 hours a day at certain points on the game, which is, I have a job, I have to do other things. So I guess you have to keep your particular scope in mind. Do you have to go to school? Do you have to do stuff? And if so, then maybe you might have to scope down your game a little bit, It might inspire, like meebob said, it might inspire you to not create that type of game.
Yeah, for sure.
But be inspired by... Because, like, if with Doggo Quest, perhaps it might be shorter than Undertale. But, I don't know. Maybe it is going to be as long as Undertale. Who knows?
We'll see.
Multiple endings.
Yeah. I would love to, see the... non-pacifist run of Doggo Quest. No.
Attack dog.
All of a sudden, in the second playthrough, the dog gains red eyes and just starts to no cute dog.
So they really go at it.
No. I won't sully the reputation. Doggo Quest is cute through and through.
The idea of an attempted evil run, but you're just not, you can't do it. Your teeth are too small.
Yeah. It's like
you just attack everybody, but they still think you're cute.
Like, oh, you're trying to bite me. That's so cute.
It's like, get a little closer.
And I suppose that might link into our next question. What is your specific method for creating a game, whether it's long or short? Do you do certain assets first? Do you think of the gameplay? Do you create a game design document? What is your different? What is your approach?
I usually start with one idea. I'm thinking more of this from like a philosophical standpoint rather than like actually making sprites and stuff. But I'm saying this is more related to the story also. Usually, for me at least, and this is probably for other people, I think I've mentioned this before on the Unique Indie RPG server, but sometimes I'll get this idea, or someone will give me an idea, and it'll start to like rapidly grow, and I get like a million other ideas that kind of branch off of it, like a tree. And I have to write down all these ideas because some are really good, some aren't so good. Either way, there are a lot of ideas, and I determine what I kind of need to like accomplish that idea. Like, do I need a music track that conveys this? Do I need like graphics need to look a certain way?
And do either of you like use like Trello or a to-do list to sort of go through it, or?
I just have the Notes app on my phone. There's like a huge document with just all kinds of stuff. I'll have to send it.
Yeah, I have to get that feeling. Meebob, how about you? Making a game.
I'm kind of determinedly analog in like the planning stages, at least. I just have stacks and stacks of paper, like I have an idea, dash it down on a piece of paper, and then like the technique is once you get too many papers, you have to kind of consolidate them, and so you like look through all the papers once, and then if there's ideas you think you don't need, you toss it, or if you need like part of it, and then I sort of make a new sheet that combines the good parts of 4 or 5 sheets, and then toss the old sheets, and that's kind of like a slow distillation process.
I just imagined it just a little doggo with glasses just like writing, and then like when they don't want them, they toss it behind them into the bin. It's very evocative imagery.
Text adventure prototypes is something they've also toyed around with.
So elaborate further with the text adventure thing. Do you just sort of create a prototype that's text only?
Yeah, like for at least when I first started making games, I said, well, text adventure, that's going to be the easiest, right? There's the text, the code, there's not too many moving parts, and as I was doing that, I found like pacing, like at least for me when I'm playing a game and when I'm making a game, I want the pacing to be right. Like that's number one beyond anything else. And I feel like in a text adventure and like sort of in a game with graphics, you encounter that same problem of pacing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Does the comedy work? Does something actually feel shocking, or like all that matters on pacing. And I feel like I've been able to capture that first in text and then just sort of transfer that when I rewrite it in engine. I found that super helpful.
Yeah, because I think not everyone kind of goes text first on these kinds of things. They kind of get the. Did you get the feeling like did you have to draw some doggos first to kind of get the idea of the game going first with this?
It was purely textual at first.
Oh right,
and then I kind of
you imagined the doggos and then you drew them.
Yeah, like I had this picture in my head, and it's like, and then I made it in text, and then once I felt like there was something there that was worth working on and worth pursuing, then I started like moving on to art and trying to bring it out of my head and into reality.
That's so interesting because it's so visually striking. I would have thought the visuals came first, but the idea that the story writing came first, that's cool. I like that. Yeah. So that was the topics we must discuss, because this was a podcast and it was serious. But now we're getting on to the questions by the community, the question box. Welcome to the question box, the segment where RPG Maker community users ask questions related to game development and design that we probably don't know the answers to, but we're going to try. Here's some specific questions for this episode. I have a question from Waka from the RPG Maker Cola Discord for meebob. Kato quest when? Just
Never.
Kidding. Just kidding. But I was wondering what made you make Doggo Quest aside from possible meme vectors.
I guess I covered this a little bit earlier in terms of the specific moment of inspiration.
And why Doggo?
I guess it's more particularly, in a sense, it's a memorial for a specific and real doggo. So that plays a part of it. But I guess I also wanted something that was light, was funny, was kind of pure adventure. And there's space for melancholy, but I didn't want something that was too dark or too heavy. And so I feel like making a puppy the main character is a good way to force yourself to, write that kind of story.
Yeah. Comes from a cute dog perspective. Oh, yeah. And, it's actually quite touching that you'd based it on a real life and that this can be a sort of memorial for them. And then from Dungeon Dev Dude, from the RPG Maker Cola Discord as well. People go join their Discord. What is your favorite breed of doggo? And that is for both for both guests.
It's It's a hard question because it's a philosophical question,
Indeed.
So obviously the star of Doggo Quest is like in the Pekingese pug kind of area of dogdom, and I love these little dogs, but it's also it's kind of morally fraught. Sometimes they live difficult lives because of how we've deformed their faces.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
and so they live good lives, but also it's is it morally responsible? It's a big question. It's like that.
Yeah. When I learned that, it was kind of a thing that, I was going to say that I wish I'd never learned, but I'm glad to have learned it, but also kind of not. Like, it's like, because you look at the early versions of dogs that they came from, and it was nowhere near as pronounced, but they seem to be bred in a certain kind of direction. I'm getting sad.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting because it's something about they're bred so that you can take care of them. And that, that says something about humans that's both sweet and horrifying. And so I think those are my favorite dogs because they're both so cute and so friendly, but also so philosophically interesting.
The kind of dog that you can just stare it in the face and say, "What are you?"
Yes. And they're probably wondering the same thing.
You curious thing.
What am I?
Mattfox, any favorite breed of doggo?
Golden Retriever.
Oh, golden retriever type. Interesting. I haven't even thought of what type of dog my favorite is.
Danny.
Did you grow up with any pets? Or...
A cat? No, sorry.
You're a cat person.
I'm a little bit more of a cat person, but I also like dogs. They're cute. I like pugs. I like golden retrievers. I like all of them. I'm not like an anti-dog person, but I do like cats as well. Yeah, I'll just skip that question from. I'm not gonna cause division where I don't need to. Right? I love all dogs. Fair. There we go. Politically correct host response. This question comes from Blind from the RPG Maker Cola Discord. For meebob, yet again, there's a lot of meebob questions up front, but there's more from Mattfox later on. What inspired the Doggo art style, and how was it accomplished? Ooh.
Yeah, so I guess the Doggo Quest art style, I think it's a combination of two things that I really love. So I guess the first is, watercolor children's book illustrations. Like you think of the illustrations in a Roald Dahl book of like kind of that sketchy, but sort of super appealing that, like that combination of is like effortless to make because they kind of like sort of, it's scribbly, it's not precise, but also appealing is something I really like, both because it's honestly really quick, really fast to make because you don't have to exactly do curves to make it match the style. But also because it has that sort of, it recalls childhood, which I think is something that's helpful in a game, especially. And it's also fun and expressive. And then I took that, and when I tried to make the game, I tried to take that style and apply it to things that you would draw in sprite art in like a top-down 2D game. So using that top-down perspective, like kind of everyone's short and squat in, in the space that the game engine likes. And so it's kind of trying to crossbreed those as seamlessly as possible. That's what I tried to do.
Yeah.
And as for how I do it, it's my workflow, which I've got down to a science at this point, is I do the watercolor. And the watercolors are a lot bigger than they are sort of on the screen. Because that's the thing with traditional art, unlike pixel art, which you make teeny tiny and you blow up. And if you have everything pixel perfect, it still looks amazing. Yeah. For anything traditional, you need to make it way bigger than you need and then shrink it down. Because if you blow up a painting, it looks really bad. But if you shrink it down, like it becomes tighter and more interesting and more powerful. And
what does your drawing situation look like?
Right now it's kind of mess. I have my big coffee table, paper is kind of stacked everywhere. And the thing about watercolor is it doesn't take up that much room. Like, it's
Right.
not like you need a whole oil painting studio with, like, so. I'm painting on top of other paintings. Is the setup? Yeah, and then I take a picture of it with my phone, and then email it to myself, and then edit it in Clip Studio Pro, like kind of clean it up, trim everything else around it, and then import it into the engine.
That's so funny that, I wouldn't have thought that you took a photo of it with your phone.
Yeah.
But so basically every Doggo art has been through a phone.
Yes, it's true.
That's great. As for our next question is by Punkit from the RPG Maker Cola Discord for Mattfox. How did you determine the engine to use, and how hard was it to program a mother-style RPG?
I'm just going to answer the second part since, like, I covered, like, the first part massively. The part that really made it difficult as for making it a mother-style RPG wasn't the mother part, because I had plenty of reference, 3 games to look at, and games that are like Earthbound and Mother that I could take inspiration from. I think because I had, at the time of making the engine, I have enough coding knowledge to know how to recreate those kind of things in GameMaker. So the part that was difficult was kind of like branching out and adding my own parts, like, for instance, the circular UI in the battle. That actually took me probably a week to, like, get working completely.
Right.
If you've played the game, you'll know what I'm talking about. But
It's like a ring menu of sorts, or is it?
yeah, it, like, spins around when you move it.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so was it quite, like, there were parts that were quite difficult, more difficult to kind of program than others?
Yeah, especially when you have to, like, implement original things as part of where, like, it's an Earthbound inspiration. Like, adding the different menus, I had to figure out a way to, like, have an original enough menus from Earthbound that they wouldn't look exactly the same. And that took a while to get down completely.
Yeah, for doing the code, I'm curious. Did you look at sort of existing Mother-like projects and see how they structured the code, or did you just kind of do it from, like, the ground up?
Yeah, I did a lot of it because there was an engine I used to use that was Earthbound when I was making an Earthbound fan game at one point. I looked to that for, like, there was one specific thing that I could not figure out by myself, and I had to look at it. I can't remember what it was, though. I think it was, like, how they went about using skills and learning skills when you level up. I couldn't really think of a system to do that in the most efficient way at the time, so I had to look at that.
Friendly Zombie from the Forgiven Discord asks for Mattfox, how many chapters do you expect Forgiven to be, and do you have a set schedule of estimated releases? Also, has the entire story already been written?
3 questions in one.
Yeah, a lot of questions.
Well, I'm planning on having either 6 or 7 chapters, and the reason it's not like most games is because I don't want to center it around, like, the places you go to, how they do with, like, sanctuaries in Earthbound, for instance, because that's an example of that, or the Crystal Stars and Paper Mario. I'm going more for, like, the Mother 3 approach, where each chapter is more like a journey instead of just going to one specific goal. So that's why I'm doing an odd number, like 6 or 7. Probably will be 7. A lot of it has. But things are probably going to change. I'm probably going to have to change some stuff if I think of new ideas. I have to, like, adapt some parts of the story to that.
From Plozu Crafts, what is your favorite thing you both like to do in game developing?
Mine is making, like, the general game art, which by that I'm referring to, like, composing music and making pixel art and stuff like that.
What about it is, like, appealing to you?
I think music is a really creative thing, and there's so many ways to, like, go about it. There's all kinds of different ways you can think about something.
Different moods, different textures,
Yeah,
different atmosphere.
that's something I want to get better at. I've been working at it for some time, but that's definitely my favorite because I think every time I tried doing something, just making music, I learn something new and can improve for the next song I make or whatever.
True. Excellent. Meebob, what is the favorite thing you like to do?
I like writing jokes is my favorite part.
The gags.
Yeah, like when the moment when you've written the joke and then you get it in engine, you get the timing right, and the gag like finally hits like how you want it to, like that's the golden moment. Like that's my favorite thing.
Okay, here's an interesting question. This is from me. It might sound weird. How do you know it's funny?
You, when I laugh at it.
When you laugh.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Is it the first time you write it that you laugh at it? Do you do several takes and make sure that it has several laughs? If it's not funny after 3 goes, do you still? Because I reckon I've tried it a few times when I write jokes and then it's funny the first time, haha, but when I'm in a different mood, I'm like, that's a really bad joke. I don't want to have that in there anymore. Do you ever have that kind of feeling?
Oh yeah, all the time. So that's why I feel like when it's on the paper, that's the first step, right? It has to get on the paper. You have to laugh at it when you write it, and then
yeah.
But the real test is when you put all the elements together. And I feel like if you've been able to take that joke and make funny art out of it, and then make a funny animation out of it, and then have all that work together, I feel like that's proof to me that it actually is funny. Because I feel like any one of those can go wrong and make it not funny. And so I feel like if you've done them all and it all works, then I feel like that's proof positive.
And this is just a question. I like to throw in questions. So this is for both of you, Mattfox and meebob. When you write, do you write silently or do you speak it out loud, speak dialogue out loud, so you can kind of hear it?
I definitely don't say it out loud.
Yeah, you just write it silent.
Oh, yeah. I'm blabbering to myself like a mad person.
When I'm programming, I usually say stuff to walk myself through what all is happening. Like I'm like,
right.
This happens and then this needs to happen right after it, and I actually say it out loud, and then I'll realize I was saying everything I was thinking. I'll just do it without even trying to. It's weird.
It's a tool, I think, for keeping track of where you are.
It definitely does help.
Yeah,
and I think with dialogue and stuff, I also like to hear it said out loud to say, is that really something someone would say? Or is it just something that when I write it down, it looks fine, but when I actually, it's not really, it doesn't really feel natural.
Yeah. Like if I had $1 million, I'd hire voice actors, no doubt.
Yeah. Would they speak in pup language or?
Yeah, I just have them barking and growling the whole time.
Like The Sims, but in Doglish.
Yeah, and I'd have them replace my fake animalese with real people still doing the Animal Crossing sounds.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Muffle asks, during development, has your game become what you had originally expected it to be, or did it turn into something much different than planned?
For me, I think it's exactly how I planned it. Yeah. I think for
so
what I've
far,
done,
so good.
Yeah, what I've done so far, I feel like is exactly what I was thinking 6 months ago when I started on the project again.
And actually, same here. I'm kind of shocked. Maybe that'll still change, but so far it's been
the vibes, the jokes, the story. It's all how you kind of wanted it to be in your head. Is the structure, the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of started from the spot of it's Undertale except how I would want it to be if I made it. And so
with Roald Dahl on the art,
Yeah, Roald Dahl on the art.
Roald Dahl
we'll trim some of the edginess off. I don't need that.
Very wholesome family content.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And those have been our community questions and answers, the question box. Yeah, that's the name. Now we're going to go into our next section, which is called the Deep Dive. Welcome to the Deep Dive. In this section, we dive deep into one of each of our guest projects and figure out what went on during the process, inspirations, and elsewise. We've kind of already touched on it in other sections, but we'll just, we'll keep going. Our first project is Forgiven, a modern-era role-playing game where a group of seemingly ordinary teenagers are destined to save the world. In today's setting, games tend to be the most impactful when they detail the simple lives of us all and what powers await from sheer emotion. There is this such thing called the Monolith Foundation. They take all pride in the destruction of humanity for their own sake and harnessing the powers that lie throughout the ancient soils of the world. Featuring 4 vibrant characters, and using the incomprehensible powers of the soul, you'll take down tough enemies and restore faith to humanity. Mattfox. So, this game is called Forgiven. Maybe, tell us a bit about what we might expect for a person playing Forgiven. What is the sum total of the experience, I guess, like?
Well, usually the first thing I mention, and people ask, is usually about the combination of the story and the battle system and how they're kind of related. One thing that I try to do a lot is kind of integrate story within the battle system. That's really evident with the final battle, and I want to do that more. So that's kind of like an Undertale-inspired thing, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, bringing the gameplay and the story together. And there's someone who wants to take control of Lorvin, and there's like, say, sheriffs and stuff, and just sort of everyday suburban life, but there's like some secrets in there, and so it's very much inspired, you'd say, by Mother and Undertale and such. So you kind of wanted to make something that was an ode to that, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. While trying to like add my own little diversions to it, make it a bit more interesting.
So I guess someone who sees the screenshots in the trailer available now, go watch the trailer for Forgiven and go play the game. I'm going to stream it soon on my Twitch. But so the battle system seems quite familiar, and you got the kind of diagonal movement and the little bullet pointed stuff. What would you say is different about Forgiven the game when it comes to comparing it to Mother?
I say one thing that I try to do to just get away from the Earthbound aspect is kind of looking at what it is and like comparing it to other games, because I really want to combine like all the games that I've played in my life that I like together. Earthbound just being one of the biggest inspirations, one of my favorite games. So obviously, when I do that, I have to look at what I need to make unique. Even though it's a great game, I have to give an original identity to it. Earthbound being a great game.
Absolutely, and that's in like feel and story, and maybe in some places of gameplay as well? Yeah,
what I try to do is a lot of the different stuff is in the battle system, really. Because like you can tell the battle system is similar to Earthbound, but you've just got more stuff going on. You can you have to influence how you attack, because you have to press a button or press a key a bunch, hold a key, all kinds of different actions that'll affect how the attack goes.
Ah, excellent. It's got some, and as you said, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, there might be some timing-based stuff in there as well.
Yeah, that'll come in the future. More of that.
Yeah, we're going to switch over to the other game now, which is Doggo Quest, a quirky watercolored RPG featuring a lost dog trying to find its way home. There's a short demo available featuring the entirety of level 1, and I've seen some screenshots of future stuff. The features listed on its page include bark, look at things, play fetch, and be a good boy. Which are great features, It'll be a full-length RPG with a completion goal in 2022, so just watch that on Twitter and Tumblr and so on. Doggo Quest is just like a great-looking game as well, and got a great sense of humor about it. So what I'll ask is, what are your long-term plans? You say you've got a completion goal in 2022. What will the final game look like? What have you planned for it to look like?
So I guess as I've scripted out right now, I want it to be like in the ballpark of 6 to 8 hours of gameplay. And so I guess the 2022 release date was took how long it took me to make the demo and how long the demo was, and then just sort of multiply that out and into how many years it should take if I proceed at that same speed.
And it's got that sort of emotional. It's got the the funny, the gags, the little bits, the comedic and lighthearted tone to it. And has it got any sort of special significance to you as well beyond the humor?
I think there's that feeling of, both wanting to adventure and wanting to find your way home that, that's a common emotional core to, I think, a lot of video games, but I think that that's not something that you can talk about too much in a sense, because, everyone, probably both knows what it's like to feel at home somewhere and what it's like to be estranged from that and want to get back.
Yeah, there's that kind of estranged feeling, like you're this lost little doggo in this curious, surreal world of strange oddities, and I think it's such a simple aspect. Get home, you'll always know what you want to sort of do. I've had nightmares like that where I want to get home, but I can't find it. So, but yeah, I think it's such a universal feeling.
Yeah, and I feel like I wanted, at least for my first game that I'm making, there to be, a simple goal that's always present. You can always kind of motivate the story. And so, and I guess it's kind of mild spoilers for the rest of it. So plug your ears if you care about that. But
yeah, let's go. Yeah, spoiler warning. If you want to go play Doggo Quest, go play it now. We're going to get into minor spoilers for it. And I'd say also Forgiven as well. Let's just have a generic spoiler warning. Feel free, so that meebob and Mattfox can feel free to spoil it however they wish to. So,
yeah. So I guess, structurally, I was, kind of trying to think intellectually about Undertale, like what drove the story, right? And there's kind of structurally these two parts. One, you want to get home to this sort of underspecified home, kind of generic. But then there's also the other side where everyone is trying to kill you, right? For their own mysterious reasons. And so I felt like I needed that same thing in Doggo Quest where the world wants something of you in addition to you wanting something from the world. And so it's going to be a story about mistaken identity is kind of going to be at the core of Doggo Quest. There's another dog, the real dog, that various people want for different reasons that they're going to confuse you with, and you're kind of going to get entangled within the affairs of this other dog.
Excellent. It's a great little setup for hijinks and stuff. I'm going to ask both for Doggo Quest and Forgiven. We'll just kind of lump it all together. And ask both of you about certain aspects of the game and what you thought about each. So let's talk about, I think we've already talked about colors and graphics, the distinct look, the palette, the location, but I'm going to lump it together with music as well, and audio. And what was your generic kind of thing when it comes to visuals, but also music for your game? What feelings did you want to bring across?
I'm actually not too sure on this one.
Yeah.
Because I try to make a lot of the music diverse, and my composers too.
It's like trying to convey like a diverse number of moods and atmospheres as well with the music in your game.
Yeah, and it definitely changes with the area.
Wait, you said you had multiple composers, right?
Yeah.
So wait, I do need to ask. Sorry, how many are in your team, and how do you organize all that? This probably will relate to the music and trying to make it all cohere as well.
Well, there's just 3 composers, including me. We've got a friend who I have does all the sprites, and then we have a person who does promo art, and that's basically it.
Oh yeah, and how do you make it all kind of cohere together? Like, do you ask for specific details when they're writing music, or do they just go on their own kind of tangents?
Well, like the first thing, for instance, Mike, Dave Forever, or Fluff Clips, I mean, that's his New Year's name, but he's like pretty much the main composer for this. I'll start off by telling him like, hey, we need this track, here's the kind of mood we need. And he'll ask like something that he kind of wants to like, usually he'll have something that he wants to go off of for the mood, like add another aspect to the mood that I already mentioned.
So I guess it's a sort of like a melding of all your different types of ideas together, of what you think about the world, and then the music kind of as a soundtrack to those different aspects.
Yeah.
As for meebob, what inspired the kind of aesthetic for the music, and what do you think about when you come with music and sound effects and graphics and putting them all together?
So I'm trying to I guess playing to your strengths is kind of another thing that comes up here, or playing to what you're capable of doing is another way of putting it.
Yeah.
But for me, I guess the order is always writing first, then art, then sort of coding, and then music for me always comes last. I think part of that because that's the most difficult for me, and so it's like I have a level like at a quasi complete state before I start thinking about music, sound effects, and I've just kind of been doing that sort of on a ad hoc basis, like, oh, I need this sound effect for this joke to make sense, or I realize that it's a little monotonous, so we need to spice up the sequence, so we'll have another room theme to add here, or I want this to be a little scarier, so I'll try and make a spooky sound. And so,
because I know a lot of developers actually start from music, believe it or not. They go music first, and then they'll create art and story to that. So it's an interesting idea to see how what order people kind of do these things in, because I think it's quite indicative of where the priorities and where the strengths lie, I suppose.
Yeah, like I think for games, I don't know, I feel like you want to come from where you're most excited and strongest, since it's so much work to do all this.
Yeah.
So you need like you want a big push so that you can make it to the end of that little bit that you're working on.
And be motivated as well to complete it. So you're like, I'll do the thing I love first, and then I guess I'll get to the thing I hate doing later on.
Exactly.
So let's talk about gameplay as well. It might not seem like, I think Forgiven is probably more focused on the intense mechanics of gameplay per se, but there's not to neglect in Doggo Quest as well. There's the exploration mechanics, the conversations that you have, there's also the combat with the skeletons and steal bones, smell, play dead, roll over, and the distraction level and stuff that you've got there. And I can see, how do you approach gameplay and how it kind of comes together with story?
Yeah, I started with a pretty bare bones system, just HP, but for the longest time I wanted to implement action commands, as they're called, pressing stuff when attacking, That came actually pretty later in development, when I wanted to actually commit to and add it to the game.
And then you started putting more and more stuff. Did you want it to be sort of complex enough for some people to just kind of have customization options? Yeah. Or did you have simpler kind of aspects to it?
I wanted it to be simpler at heart, but if you really want to, there's stuff you can pursue. There's a secret boss where you can get a weapon that changes your main attack. Just kind of switch it up for your main attack to do more damage. And of course, it's just a reward for exploration, which is one thing I definitely think drives what makes me want to make it. I want to focus a lot more on exploration.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I didn't really mention when you asked me what was different from Earthbound, because exploration is the main thing that I want to make in the game.
Like a feeling of just being able to find, a different feeling, I suppose, to Mother when it comes to exploring different secrets.
Yeah, because Mother didn't really have a lot on exploration.
As for meebob, I think I'll drill down on the small mechanics. There's little conversations where Doggo is asked, "Hey, little guy, what's wrong?" And then you can either say nothing or something. There's little gags about to do with choices, that aren't really choices at all. And then there's the exploration mechanic and the barking and everything like that. Did you kind of intentionally pare down the gameplay? You don't really want too much, in terms of complexity, or what made you decide on the structure that the game currently has?
Yeah. So I guess kind of my philosophy for that is, at least for this game, I want the gameplay to be clear and effortless. I don't really want a sense of struggle or of frustration to enter the picture, at least for the kind of story I'm trying to tell. I think the emotion I want is a sense of surprise, a sense of delight, a sense of oh wow, look at that. And so I try and make the gameplay something that can facilitate that. I don't know where I heard this, so I apologize to whoever I'm plagiarizing, but I heard somewhere that the essence of video games is that a lot of people think it's choice, that's the most critical, important thing, choosing what to do and how to configure things, but that actually the thing that you absolutely need isn't choice. It's like doing things. And that's kind of what makes it fun at the bare minimum. And so as I'm doing Doggo Quest, I'm thinking about that. Like, what would be fun to do? Like, and that's like the first question. And so I think thinking about that lets me make things simpler and clearer, maybe.
We'll drill down on one decision, which was the ability to put items on your doggo's nose or head. Why would we need that? Little hats.
I'm actually really struggling with that element right now because it's obviously a fun thing to do. Like, why not be able to wear every single item in the game as a hat? Like, and I want that to be like sort of an expression of joy, something that you can do. But I'm very careful. I'm trying to be careful to not overpromise with that. So I feel like something you can run into a game is like, there's something you can do and it's really cool. And then so you're like, this is clearly important. Like, I need to do something with this in the world. Yeah. And then if that's not fulfilled, like, you're like bitterly disappointed. It's like, where is the game I wanted to play? This is not it.
Yeah, they might want to put something like from your head onto other things and make it gameplay focused, but then you're just like, nope, it's just purely a cosmetic option. I mean, I'd be fine with a cosmetic option, but it just depends on what type of... You're being very mindful of what type of game you want to create.
Yeah, like, I don't want someone to be playing the game that's like, oh, I need to try every combination of hat, because what if that's important? What if that unlocks something? You don't
want to confuse them with something additional that they think is important to gameplay, but it really isn't.
Yeah, so I'm just making clear to telegraph what's essential, what's not.
That's brilliant. Excellent. My next question is, and this is coming to the latter end of the deep dive, what went well in the process of creating your game, or what is going well? What are you most proud of? And then what trouble what's one of the major troubles you came across, something that didn't go so well, and how did you overcome it?
Getting like the engine done pretty quickly, because I started with making the engine of the game and all the frameworks for how everything happens. Like, starting, I think the first thing I did was probably the battle system, actually. The first thing I ever did in development. That went pretty smoothly, and I got all of the main things that you need in the game in about 4 months done, without any of the story stuff, which I added after that. As for something that didn't go as well, making, like, talking about exploration, sometimes I feel like I don't do enough with it. And sometimes I feel like I make, like, more exploration than the actual task that you need to do.
Yeah.
Like,
so there's too many areas and not enough kind of... There needs to be a little bit more to it.
And occasionally, like, people are like, what do I do here? And I was like, well, I know I messed up if it's not obvious what to do there.
Yeah, it's a bit hard sometimes to telegraph in every single area what you're supposed to do. And even, there is a sense in a non-linear game where you're supposed to sort of struggle around and try and find the thing that you want, but not to the extent where it becomes, like, unfairly
have to ask the dude who made it.
Yeah, you're like, creator, I've been wandering around this area for an hour now. And you're like, oh, you're supposed to press B at the intersection. Yeah. So there's a balance there, I think, because you got to let your players struggle a little bit. And how do you? So you'd say, have you overcome it, or you plan to overcome it in a certain way?
Well, the people actually pointing it out helped me a lot, because now I know that I can use stuff like, maybe I added a name to a character that was important that you had to talk to progress. I think it was like Freddy or something. And so all the dialogues were like, go to Freddy, talk to Freddy. That's something I think that helps, and that's in the current demo.
So you used that user test feedback that they were kind of wondering where, like, what to do next, and then you're like, okay, so now I'll kind of point them towards it. Go to Freddy. Find Freddy. Meebob, what went well for you in the process of making Doggo Quest, and what troubles did you come across, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I guess as for what went well, I'm just really, really happy with how the whole aesthetic came together. Like, I wasn't sure whether I could successfully, combine these different pieces. Like, there's the watercolor art, the kind of traditional 2D kind of sprite art style, and then the writing, and then like kind of UI elements. The UI elements I've just kind of tried to use sort of classic kind of sprite art fonts and things like that, and then very low res music. So I was really anxious that all those pieces like wouldn't make sense together. Yeah. But I'm finding that so far, like no one's like sort of questioned it that I've encountered, at least. They're like, no one's like, this doesn't make sense that these things will go together. So that's a huge success for me.
I didn't even think about that because it all came together. Just it seemed to come together. It seemed so natural. That's what I'll say about it. Like it could have just gone the other way where you just put it together and you're like, this isn't working.
Yeah, it shocked me. Like I was wondering when I did it, I'm like, why aren't more people doing this? Is what I thought.
Yeah. I think what I'll say is that the watercolor style, the very style that you do, is not everyone can pull that off. That's what I'll say. I've seen some parallaxed styles, and not everyone. I think it's also the combination that you can do it very quickly, and it does look high quality, and it's all consistent. That those are all elements that sometimes for some people are quite hard to achieve. But yeah, but actually for the listener, I would recommend go ahead and try it out. Try make your own parallax games using drawings and stuff. We need more of those kind of interesting games.
Yeah, and I think that more people who just do art should try making games. I think.
Yeah,
because I think there's like pixel art is really difficult, and it's like its own specific skill. And so I think a lot of time, at least like sort of artist friends I've talked to who've tried to make games, a lot of them have burnt out at the making pixel art asset stage because it's kind of like a huge learning curve, and
because they feel it's the thing that should be done, like capital S should, but you don't necessarily have to.
Yeah, and they're making like absolutely beautiful art in a completely different style, and I feel like maybe just try and do what you love to do, and if you want to make a game, try and make a game using that.
Watercolor animals. And as for things that maybe were a bit tricky and that you had to overcome, any of those sorts of roadblocks that you came across?
I think a lot of my roadblocks have been technical. Like, I guess I'm a programmer for a living, but the sort of things I do couldn't be more remotely removed from like video game programming.
Yeah. And
so I think honestly the like kind of things I've rigged up for Doggo Quest are probably abominable. Like,
yeah.
And so I think so I've like, found myself kind of,
suffering at the hands of your own coding.
Exactly.
It's common when you're the only one who'll you feel like you're the only one who's going to see your code.
Yeah. So, because I just went in, was like, this is not my day job. I'll just, I'll do whatever. I'll get it done quickly.
Yeah.
And we'll see if I live to regret those decisions. But, and I think, and I'm hitting some like, I think sharp edges with the engine I'm using. So it's all written in Godot. And
right.
I think that, using these huge watercolor images, and I think 2D Godot in general is maybe not the focus of the engine, and so I've worked around lots of performance issues, just kind of rendering the images I have themselves. Right. And so I've kind of had to rethink how I design maps and rethink what's possible to sort of deal with.
Do you think you'll complete the whole game in Godot?
I think so.
It'll be a big job to convert to another engine, right?
Yeah, for sure. I picked it because it was free. Was the main attraction of it. Yeah. And I honestly think I want to pick RPG Maker back up just to study it. Right. Because it's obvious to me, like people making these enormous and very complicated games, and sometimes people who aren't very technical making these colossal and often very good games, like that implies to me that RPG Maker is doing something really right with how they organize the engine, and so I kind of want to study that. Like that's something that really interests me.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we will study the engine. That actually concludes
my deep dive, except I have one last question to answer. It's a bit of a left field sort of question. I'll just ask it. Why am I holding out? If you could say one thing to listeners right now, what would it be?
I would say, no matter who you are, you can make a game.
Yeah, and I guess I'd say, no matter who you are, you can make that thing that you wanted to make but haven't really done because maybe you're like, you think you're a music person or an art person. Like, try and apply. This is a total mess, but try and apply what you like to following your dream and see if you can make that work, because you may surprise yourself.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a little vague, but
yep. No, that's nice. So yeah, we're nearing the end of the podcast. Thank you, listeners, for listening, and thank you to meebob and Mattfox for being incredible guests. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. We're going to round this out with, a section where we plug or promote anything, that of our guests who definitely deserve it. We'll start with Mattfox. What are your socials? Where can we find you? And what would you like to promote?
My Twitter is, I honestly forgot. I don't know if it's Forgiven RPG or Forgiven Game.
Forgiven Game, yeah. At Forgiven Game.
Yeah, it's Forgiven Game.
Twitter's at Forgiven Game. Mattfox, mattfoxgames.itch.io, Forgiven, go download Forgiven. Demo out. Demo available, Chapter 1. Go and try it. Watch the trailer, get interested in it. Yeah, Mattfox, let's just go try out the game, Forgiven, and see it for yourself. That's what I'd recommend.
Yeah, I recommend it.
Right?
It's fun. I played it.
Oh, yeah.
It's really beautiful.
That's good.
As for me, Bob.
You can find me on all the usual suspects. I guess on Twitter, I'm meebob4. I need to find the other 3 and eliminate them, but that's a work in progress. But you can find Doggo Quest on itch.io. The demo's out there. It's free. Play it. Let me know what you think. I'm pretty happy. I've defeated all the other Doggo Quest adjacent names. So just type Doggo Quest into Google and you should be able to find it.
That is a good test, yeah. Doggo Quest, Google, go download the demo. Fantastic watercolor game. Great humor. Dog. Great environments. And yeah, go follow Twitter. Go download. I was going to say buy, but you can download. Is there any way... You guys have a Ko-Fi or anything that we can donate? No.
I'm taking donations on itch.io.
Itch.io.
So.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Donate if you want to support developers. When you download the game, name your own price. Go ahead. Give it a little bit. And that is the end of our show. I would like to promote a podcast called RPG Maker Cola. You might have heard of it. It's a fuzzy source for game development and design opinions that mean very little in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, I'm taking too long. We need to go. Thank you, guests, and thank you, listener, for listening to the podcast. You've been very good, just sitting there, just being quiet and we love you engaging in our content. Go like our page. Go join the Discord, RPG Maker Cola Discord. There's friendly people there. They love to give feedback and heart emojis to every single post because I do it. They probably don't like the way that spam reacts, but I'll do it anyway. Haha. But anyway, that's been our podcast. Thank you very much. Listen to all the episodes. We love you. Goodbye, everybody. Bye.
Goodbye.